What is up, guys? Welcome back to the pod. We are back here for round 2 this weekend. Yesterday's show that dropped was solely focusing on Triple H's retirement news and the interview that he did with Stephen A. Smith. So if you haven't checked that out yet, that is available and out there for you as well. Today we are back to the normal weekend review type show. It seems that we've been kind of formatting towards lately. As we edge a little bit closer to Wrestlemania, which is officially 1 week away from today. Today, of course, being Sunday, March 27, 2022. 1 week away from night 2 of Wrestlemania, I should clarify. We do have, of course, as everyone knows by now, a 2-night event for WrestleMania this year. Sadly, I will not be watching it live. I will be actually going to Puerto Rico on Friday, so I will be flying out Friday early afternoon, and I will not be back until Wednesday of the following week. So I was debating on if I was going to try to avoid social media altogether or if I was going to kind of stay up to date with it. So still playing that one by ear. So if you do not see me on Twitter this weekend, that's most likely why. I don't even know if reception is going to be out there. I assume it shouldn't be that terrible, but we'll kind of play that by ear. But I do definitely plan on dropping a prediction show this week, saving it for after Raw. So probably do it on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week that's coming up. Obviously, I want to see what breaks on Raw, which we'll get into here in a second. And at that point, with SmackDown's Go Home show, I really don't foresee anything groundbreaking changing on SmackDown, and especially with Roman and Brock Lesnar being advertised for Raw this week as well. So, obviously, with the SmackDown roster, or the SmackDown show rather, this week being so stacked with WrestleMania preview shows, or it kind of, or preview card, it looks like. It's kind of bizarre because they threw some matches, which we'll get into on later here as well. But they threw some matches on SmackDown that you would normally either expect to see on the WrestleMania card itself, or at least on their preview show, which last time I checked, they're still doing a preview show, which is slated for 2 hours. So little confused by that, but like I said, we'll get into that here in a second. The main focal point that's going into tomorrow night's Raw, of course, is the Seth Rollins angle. We ended last week's Raw with him pretty much losing his mind, yelling bullshit, all that shit, to close out the show with him being screwed over with Edge, of course, costing him the match, and therein lying him not being able to go to WrestleMania to face Edge, and keeping the original format of Edge versus AJ Styles, which I don't think any of us doubted for a slight second. But an interesting development happened yesterday. Good old Seth, and being on Twitter, it looks like he went. I have it pulled up here. 1 second, guys. The first thing that really stuck out to me before I even read the actual screenshot is that the supposed text message that he took a screenshot of from Vince McMahon. That's the only message in their thread. There's nothing else. Seth didn't respond. No, nothing. So even I have text messages from my boss, and we don't even text that often, you know what I mean? And so it's just, it was kind of comical that there was just literally nothing else there. And I get it, right? It's nothing major, but that was just the first thing that stood out to me. And that he's just saved in there as Vince, like no picture of Vince. It's just VM and in the little circle and red background, but no picture, no nothing. So I was maybe expecting a little bit more from good old Seth. But anyway, the screenshot that supposedly has the text message from Vince says, "Seth, someone from my office is going to be reaching out to you to set up a meeting at corporate headquarters. I want you in my office at 9 a.m. on Monday." That, of course, being from Vince McMahon to Seth Rollins. And this was supposedly sent yesterday. Seth took a screenshot of that, posted it on Twitter, and said, "Ha ha ha ha." Times, I don't even know how many, instead, of course, and then a couple laughing emojis. We then got a follow-up from Adam Pearce. He's on Twitter at ScrapDaddyAP. I don't know why that tickles me so much. But Adam Pearce followed up saying, "Let's chat about this tonight in Kitchener," which I don't know if I pronounced that right. Hopefully I did, to you guys out there. But that was in response to, of course, Seth Rollins' screenshot, and that, I believe, was posted, yes, yesterday as well, which was the location of their live event that they were having. So, not sure what developments happened at the live event itself, or if there was just maybe some footage that was filmed backstage that we'll see on Raw, or what may have you, but I think it's pretty clear that, first off, Monday should open with Seth, with him threatening the show last week and saying it's not going to go on until he gets what he wants for WrestleMania. I don't imagine him allowing the show to start without him getting what he wants. And I hope it's not something that, the show does start as normal and then we see Seth maybe an hour into the show and he's like, oh, yes, I met with Vince at headquarters yesterday or this morning and we resolved everything. And drops maybe a hint or two to Cody, or whatever, and that's that. I hope we at least see some type of hold up or of the show or something. I'm gonna be kind of let down, to be honest with you guys, if they just leave it as that and it pretty much just use Twitter as the resolution and the way to avoid having that angle play out on Raw itself, or just use it as a way to kind of get out of doing something big and extravagant and just having Seth, maybe briefly mention it backstage in an interview or something like that. So I'm holding out hope. But with that being said, I don't see this as a sign that we're getting Cody on Raw. And I think at this point, there's really no reason to. You might as well hold him out until WrestleMania. Now, whether you really want to actually quote-unquote say the words in the name Cody Rhodes on Raw and make it completely obvious that's what's going to happen on WrestleMania Saturday, or if you want to, like I said, drop a heavy hint like a Nightmare reference or something to that effect, and have it pretty, kind of like the CM Punk route, right, where it's kind of like the unspoken given at this point, like we all know what's going to happen, it's just a matter of letting it happen at this point. So yeah, like I said, I think since we've made it this far, and I guess in a way kudos to them for finding different ways to string us along for however many weeks now. I think you would kind of be foolish to let the cat out of the bag, and especially since I think they're just going to be in Pittsburgh this week on Monday. Again, no offense to Pittsburgh, but it's not even like it's a big city like that's in relations to Cody Rhodes, right? That has heavy Cody Rhodes history, or that could generate a larger pop than normal or anything like that. But I could be wrong, and this could be a way for them to have like a Cody sighting, but he doesn't say anything or they don't touch or anything like that, and then that's just confirmation and just maybe another last-ditch attempt to have people scarf up whatever tickets are left, or maybe whatever subscriptions they're looking to garner, if they have a specific goal for that, or whatever their goal is. I think that will obviously kind of show itself on Monday as well, but I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, I think Seth is the main talking and focus point going into Raw itself. We do have like I said, we do have Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar that are being advertised for Raw, along with The Miz versus Rey Mysterio going one-on-one. I will say I wasn't a fan with The Miz ripping off Rey Mysterio's mask last week. Maybe it's just, like I've mentioned in the past, me taking this stuff a little bit too seriously, but I view that as a big deal. You unmasking a luchador, right? Especially someone of Rey Mysterio's caliber. Whether it's you completely ripping it all, like, to just ripping the mask off in one foul swoop, or if you're actually ripping it to pieces, right? And ripping it from, like, the eye holes and stuff like that. I don't know. To me, I think that when you want to do something that heavy, in my eyes, you save it for a heavy feud, and something that kind of warrants that. And I don't think this rivalry or feud or whatever you want to call it, this match going into WrestleMania, warrants that. So that was just something that kind of stood out to me last week on Raw, amongst other things. But just kind of being reminded of that when I saw they're going to have a one-on-one match on Raw, it just kind of reminded me of that. So just kind of wanted to touch base on that. And again, I'd be curious to know what you guys think as well on Twitter, as always, at ASHMANNS, or the show's Twitter page at kickashpodcast_. But moving on here, I did want to reference as well, we did have another announcement in regards to the Hall of Fame ceremony itself. We have the recipient for this year's Warrior Award being announced as Shad Gaspard, which I think is goes without saying that it's probably the most fitting recipient of this award. And I think, and I've mentioned it before, whether it's on this podcast or on the WWE podcast or just on Twitter, and again, nothing groundbreaking or nothing that no one else has mentioned as well, but I'm in the camp that we should just rename the award the Shad Gaspard Award, you know what I mean? What this man sacrificed, and the act itself of him giving up his life to make sure that his son was saved, it's just something that I just, I can't even imagine being in his shoes and his family's shoes and his son's shoes or anything like that. So I think, and to be kind of transparent with you guys as well, I'm not an Ultimate Warrior fan, especially with everything that came out and certain interviews, certain things that he said that not groundbreaking. Again, if you're a diehard wrestling fan, you've probably heard of it in the past as well. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of the award itself being named after the Ultimate Warrior. And I think Shad Gaspard is beyond fitting to have an award named after him. So I would love to see that be renamed in the future. I'm not holding my breath on that, but again, just to kind of put that out there for the record, I would definitely be in the camp too, and love to see that award be renamed. But at the very least, I am happy that WWE is acknowledging Shad and his contributions to the business itself, but in everything that his family has gone through since then, and what he did, and I think it's going to be a super, super emotional moment. So yeah, I'm not going to say I'm looking forward to that, because I don't think any of us are, but that's definitely going to be a heartfelt moment. Shifting focus here to AEW. We will be leading off with AEW, or AEW Dynamite, of course, rather. And this week's show opened up with CM Punk versus Dax Harwood, which, man, such a good quality wrestling match. I would definitely recommend checking this out. I love the fact that, obviously, Dax is a tag team wrestler, but this guy can go, man. And I think that when he's obviously in a singles role, you get to see that more so rather than just tag team, because obviously it's ideally 50-50 your time in the ring. But I love that we get to see like little sprinkles of singles matches here from both Dax and Cash Wheeler from time to time, because it just reminds you of such like the quality of wrestler that they are. Again, maybe it was just me, and maybe I just haven't appreciated them as much as I should have been lately. But of course we expect them to kind of go in the ring as a tag team, right? But when you get to see them kind of just focused individually and just let them shine as a singles competitor, you just kind of get to see what they bring to the table more individually, and kind of like obviously the spotlight is more so focused on them at that point. And I think Dax against CM Punk, at first I was not questioning the matchup. I was like, okay, this isn't one that I would necessarily think that I would want to see or peg as a match that I'd be like, oh yeah, I really want to see this match. But it's one of those that, as I say that, now that I've seen it, I'm like, damn, dude, like that was solid. And like you want to go back and rewatch it. And of course, both of these guys are huge Bret Hart fans, so we saw a lot of callbacks to Bret, so that's always cool and very fun. And it kind of led towards the end too, right? With the sharpshooter being applied at one point during the match, but at the end, which is no surprise, CM Punk did get the victory here with the Anaconda Vice, which is always cool. I am a big fan of the Anaconda Vice, and I love when he utilizes that move, and especially when it leads to a W for him. So, again, this is just another ranking and another notch in the ranking, rather, for Punk as he builds his numbers, right, for the ranking system, which you would think would lead to a match or for the heavyweight championship at some point. So I'm, as much as it may sound crazy right now, my early prediction, if we don't get another Adam Cole versus Adam Page rematch at Double or Nothing itself, I think we may be gearing towards maybe a CM Punk Page match. So that could be pretty cool. And my early prediction, and I'm not sure if I actually said this on the podcast or if I was just thinking it one day, so an early prediction, whether we get the Punk and Page match at Double or Nothing or that happens a little bit later on, maybe at like All Out or something like that, I do see Punk winning the title in AEW. And I think if you would have asked me when we knew that we had an AEW Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, and CM Punk, out of that small little handful there, who would be the first? I may have said Bryan Danielson at the time, but now looking at it, I think it's obviously going to be Punk. And I think that's pretty cool, whether that leads to a Punk heel turn or if it's just Punk in his current form, in his current version, just winning the title. Again, I'm probably way too early and shouldn't even be speculating on that yet, but I say that because I obviously, I say obviously because of my follow-up point with who I see taking the title from Punk, which again, I have no idea of a timeline for that yet. I haven't put too much thought in the reign of Punk. But going on this hypothetical road, and bear with me guys for a second, whenever Punk does win the title, like I said, whether it's at Double or Nothing or at All Out, for instance, I kind of see him maintaining his role as a babyface and just kind of letting that reign play out as good guy Punk in this version of him, like I said, and then having MJF come and beat him for the championship. And again, whether Punk has a 6-8 month reign, maybe it's a year plus reign, is to be determined. But the thing that MJF said in his promo, what was it, last week, regarding Punk having an embarrassing loss to MJF, what else would be more embarrassing to Punk than losing the title to MJF? So that's kind of where I see that playing out. And again, I know I'm way early on that, but that was just kind of an early thought I kind of wanted to throw out there into the universe. But moving on, we had the 8-man tornado tag match, which was Sting, Darby Allin, and the Hardys versus Private Party, the Butcher, and the Blade. And this match was dope. I'm not even going to lie. I questioned why we were getting the Hardys in this combination so soon on TV, but I'm not going to complain about it. Of course, right? Jeff Hardy's been in the company 2-ish weeks, a little over 2 weeks, and dude is already doing a swanton off of a ledge in an arena. So, not surprising, Jeff Hardy has not changed, and I think the Jeff Hardy that we expected and that we hoped for is the Jeff Hardy that we got. Dude looks like he hasn't missed a step. He looks great. So just super excited for what the future holds. But again, no real surprise here with the victory going to Sting, Darby Allin, and the Hardys. But what I'm kind of curious about is what this means for Andrade going forward. I'm kind of in the camp where I'm a little surprised that he hasn't gotten as much shine as maybe I thought he would after he first debuted. And I don't know if that's maybe just a casualty of how many signings there's been. And he just, is kind of been placed, I don't want to say on a back burner, but it's just not his time right now. So just kind of, like I said, maybe a little bit surprised by that, and maybe not even expecting him to be in the heavyweight picture, at least just like the TNT title range, right, or something like that. But just a quick thought there. But I'm more so maybe curious after all this is over with where Andrade goes more so than anything else. But Moving on along here, we had Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson, of course, being accompanied to the kind of, not necessarily the ring, just on stage and then going to the commentary booth by William Regal, or Lord William Regal, as Jon Moxley refers to him as, which I love. But yes, it was Jon Moxley and Daniel Bryan. I almost called him Daniel Bryanson. Bryan Danielson versus the Varsity Blondes. I was more so impressed with Garrison more than anything in this match, which was kind of surprising to me. I think for whatever reason, dude just really stood out to me this week and in this match. Just some of the forearm shots that they were throwing at each other and that he was hit with, and just how he got right back up. And I don't know, it was just something about this match, dude, really just stood out to me. Let me know if you guys kind of agree, or if you guys kind of saw that as well, or maybe not so much, and it was just a regular match and just showcased the Mox and Danielson team as it was kind of designed to do. But after the match, we got a pretty fire promo from Moxley himself, and it sounds like we got the name, and it appears that way as well to be official, since we already have t-shirts. But the name of their faction is the Blackpool Combat Club, which is just dope as fuck. So I am super stoked with that name choice rather, and am definitely looking forward to getting a shirt, even though I wish I could order it from somewhere else. That being said, yeah, just pretty good stuff. And Moxley, again, is, like I said, fire on the mic. And I just love everything about this group and this faction. And I can't wait to see what it means going forward. But after that, and after a commercial break, we had MJF coming out, who was addressing the whole Wardlow situation. He repeatedly referred to Wardlow as a pig and said that he owns Wardlow and pretty much everything that you would imagine MJF to say. He did acknowledge or say that he would nail Wardlow just like Jesus Christ, or something to that effect, because I think there was a Jesus impersonator in the crowd, or something to that effect. There was a random like Jesus chant, so not really sure what happened there, but it was pretty cool to see MJF just respond and react on his feet. Wardlow did end up making his way out at some point, but of course, MJF had already planned for that and had security surrounding the ring, preventing Wardlow from doing so. Wardlow eventually kind of backed off and made his way back to the ring, but that's just the start of what looks to be a long-term feud between the both of these guys. I don't believe that they've ever announced when the expiration of Wardlow's contract is. If they have, please let me know. I would love to be wrong, but I don't think we ever got an official, like, oh, Wardlow signed a contract for X amount of years or anything like that. So I'd be curious to find that out. But moving on here, the next match we had on the card was Jay Lethal versus Adam Cole, which is a pretty cool throwback to, of course, their ROH days and there's their mainstays there. And again, just another solid and good match, and a good wrestling match, and what you would kind of expect from both of these guys. But I will say, because this did lead to the, of course, the I don't want to say interference necessarily, but the rescue from Jurassic Express and Christian Cage to come out and save the day. We did have Hangman Adam Page come out, and we just, I'm gonna say, because I had sent a tweet out on Twitter, obviously, when this whole thing was going on. I'm just over low blows in wrestling, guys. Like, I'm just overseeing it, whether it's AEW, WWE, the Indies, wherever. Like, I don't care where it is. I'm just, me personally, I'm just kind of overseeing it. I feel like it's just an easy way out. It's just, I don't know, like, it's just kind of annoying at this point. So yeah, like, me personally, it's just kind of getting to that point where I feel like almost every segment or every show at least has to have one low blow, and it's just like, come on, like, can we just do something different? Like, for instance, with this one, we got a low blow to Jay Lethal, and then a low blow, I think, later on from Cole to Hangman Page. So it's just, I don't know. Or maybe it was Page to Adam Cole. But regardless, I'm just kind of overseeing the low blow. Again, nothing major and nothing that ruins the moment or anything like that, or anything serious like that. But to me, I wish that they everyone in the wrestling world would just stop with the low blows, at least for a while. Like, give us 6 months, 8 months, a year to kind of embrace not having a low blow and not seeing a low blow. Like, for instance, like Orange Cassidy and AJ Styles are two guys that stand out to me, like, who always are the recipients for a low blow. So it's just, I don't know, like, I'm just kind of over it. But moving on, we had Sammy Guevara and Tay Conti coming out and kind of interacting with Dan Lambert in the Men of the Year. Paige Van Zant was called out as well, but she did not end up appearing. This was kind of like a confrontation-ish. It was not my segment, guys. I'm just gonna kind of lead with that. I was just not a fan of this at all. We had Tay Conti and Sammy Guevara in the ring first before Dan Lambert and the gang ended up coming out later on. But Sammy was kind of just putting himself over, and I don't mean that in a bad way, because he was just stating facts, saying that he goes out there and his goal is to give us the holy shit moment of the night and to let us go home with that moment to talk about and just pretty much get what we paid for, right? And we spent our hard-earned money to go see these shows, so he's ideally looking to satisfy that role for us. And whether he has the title or not, and that line to me just kind of stood out. I don't know, like, to me, again, just probably reading too much into it, I wish everyone cared, number one, about being the champion, and then by becoming the champion, that in turn provides entertainment for everyone, right? Like, I don't know, it's just a weird thing to me, but Sammy kind of started off, just like I said, addressing that, and then Tay Conti got on the mic, and then that's kind of when Dan Lambert and Men of the Year came out. Dan Lambert had mentioned at one point that you can pay $9.99 a month to see Paige Van Zant's website or whatever, and find out the reason why Orange Cassidy always has his hands in his pants, which is, is what it is. I feel like, I don't know, I'm whatever. But I think obviously the moment that everyone is more so talking about than anything else coming out of this segment here is I don't have the exact quote line, but Tay Conti and Sammy referencing, because at one point Dan Lambert had kissed the title, the TNT title that he has. So Sammy had mentioned that if you only knew what Sammy and Tay had done with that title, then Dan Lambert would know that they now live in his mouth as well, because he had mentioned that they had been living rent-free in his brain, so now they live in his mouth as well. I don't think I really need to explain it too much to you guys. But then later it was followed up with a picture of said Sammy and Tay with the TNT title covering certain areas, in I guess a hotel room. It's so, I don't know. Like, to me, I'm just gonna say, for me personally, kudos to you guys, right? Like, I'm happy you're happy, but I'm not going to continuously cheer for someone who, like, throws their relationship in our face, right? To me, I got more of a heel vibe from it, I guess I should say. I got the early interpretation that they're gonna be that obnoxious couple and accentuate that and ride with that and kind of embrace that. So if that's the direction they're going, then that's cool. But if not, and we're supposed to continue to cheer for them, like, 2-3 months into this, and it's just continuing to go this way, then I don't know. We're gonna have a more in-depth conversation about that. But moving on, we got Red Velvet versus Legit Layla Hirsch, and this match was what it was. It wasn't really that great. I hate to say it. I guess we did get a kind of sneaky angle at the end where Hirsch had her thing right now is that she's bringing out a piece of the turnbuckle. So she, of course, brought that out, went to hit Velvet with it. The referee saw it, was taking care of that, and Hirsch had ended up having an additional turnbuckle piece in her tights and was able to get the victory that way. But I don't know, I'm just not really digging this anymore. I'm just kind of over it now, and I kind of want them to kind of move on. Although I am happy that they're getting time on the card itself for Dynamite, but I don't know, I just wasn't really feeling this match. Maybe just ready for them to kind of move on and kind of start fresh with different opponents. But that led to the main event being John Silver and Alex Reynolds versus Chris Jericho and Daniel Garcia, their first pairing as the Jericho Appreciation Society. It was what it was. Again, I wasn't really too high on this match either, not to be such a downer. Again, it could have been a lot worse, but I just wasn't really feeling this match. I think Daniel Garcia is pretty dope, and I am happy that Garcia ended up getting the victory with the sharpshooter, which was pretty cool. And again, another shout out to Brett there. So I do like that the focus seems to be going forward at Daniel Garcia as one of the focus points of this little society. So we'll see, and I'm not gonna shit on it. I'm not down on it too bad, but I just wasn't like, oh my god, this match is the best type thing. It was what it was. It was fine, you know what I mean? But moving on to AEW Rampage, the card itself opened up with Dustin Rhodes versus Lance Archer, and they were kind of billing this one as a grudge match, just based off of the history that these guys have with each other in particular. And it was pretty dope. I believe they were still in Austin, Texas for this match. With them, I'm pretty sure they were in Austin, Texas this week, so that would obviously make sense with just another reason to get Rhodes on the card. And another reason, if you kind of think of it as well, with him getting the W here, they definitely try to put people over in their hometown, which is always pretty cool of Tony Khan, because obviously, you know, he's pretty certain still the one making the calls there. So it's just quite the opposite from WWE, where you normally get shit on whenever you're in your hometown. So it's just another feel good thing, right? To kind of, and another good reason, or another reason to feel good about being a fan rather of AEW. But moving on here, just really quick, I believe, Dustin Rhodes is 52, so insane to see the shit that he still does out in that ring. And Lance Archer is always been impressive too. It's sad that he just kind of pops up randomly every couple months and just does like one-off, it seems like, matches like this, and then kind of disappears for a while. So hopefully we can get something more out of him going forward in the future. But the next match we had on the card was the Dark Order versus Red Dragon. We had Alan Angels and Preston Vance, number 10 of the Dark Order, facing, of course, Red Dragon being Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. This was a very good match, and kind of what you would expect, again, out of both teams as well. Nothing crazy or anything out of the ordinary, like I said, that you wouldn't expect from these two teams. It was a good, solid match, though. Just a good wrestling match, and one that I think that we'll probably see played back in the near future, just because these two teams have chemistry between each other, and it's just cool to see all the different factions and different teams and different stories that the tag team division can go in. I mean, again, it's always kind of obvious who's going to win, like, the championship, for instance, or stuff like that, because you can kind of see at least what direction they are kind of wanting to go in for the championship. But when you have just kind of random matches like this, it's just always fun to see the depth of the division itself. But Red Dragon, of course, did end up scoring the win here. Like I said, hopefully they'll get a chance to run this back in the future when they get a little bit more time. But we did get a Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus save when Kyle O'Reilly and Fish were kind of beating down Red Dragon, beating down Dark Order after the match unnecessarily. So we did get another sighting of Jurassic Express there. I should say, before the match itself, we did get a House of Black sighting when Fuego del Sol came out and made a kind of random just appearance on Rampage, and a promo just stating that he has heart and he's there to fight, and he's looking for a fight. and essentially called out House of Black, and they made their appearance, which was pretty cool. The three men were standing at one in each turnbuckle, and then of course Malachi Black in the center, and they kind of did their appearance one at a time, with each spotlight kind of shining on each individual as they were making their appearance. So that was a pretty cool sight. But they just completely destroyed Fuego. So nothing too surprising there. But again, after that match, we got a squash match to the T from Nyla Rose against a woman by the name of Maddie Rinkowski, I believe is how you pronounce her name. I don't think this even went a minute, so there's that. But the next segment we got was probably what everyone was more so looking forward to for Rampage itself, which is no surprise there. The segment with QT Marshall presenting an award to Hook. I believe it was a certification of completion, if I'm not mistaken, or something to that effect. Hook came out, was not impressed, ended up slamming Aaron Solo's face through the award itself, which was in a glass frame, which was so well done. Just the sound, the visual, just perfectly done. Hook couldn't give a shit less, did that to Solo, and then made his way back to the back, and that was that. I will say he did get stopped by Danhausen on the ramp, and Danhausen apparently initiated the curse onto Hook, but Hook had no effect, which is something else, guys. Hook really is a phenomenon if he has no effect and no reaction to the curse of Danhausen. So we'll see how that goes as well. But that led to our main event being Swerve Strickland versus Ricky Starks, who is your FTW champion. The championship was on the line in this main event match, and again, this match just super stellar. I love that Swerve is in AEW. I, of course, you guys know, am a huge Ricky Starks fan, in which there was just more time in the world for Ricky Starks, because his promo alone is just captivating to me, and just this guy just screams star to me, and it just looks like a star. And it may be bizarre and crazy for me to say, but he reminds me of The Rock, so the early stages of The Rock, I should say. But again, I'm not really trying to compare him to The Rock necessarily, even though I am. Not saying he's going to be like the next like groundbreaking like movie star, like the level of The Rock right now, but just promo and electricity wise, and just the way that he can kind of captivate you and just kind of bring you into whatever he's doing. I just think he has something about him. And of course, Swerve is Swerve, man. Like everything this guy touches, he just is the best at. So seeing these two go face to face in the main event was very. You just got to see it for yourself. Again, this is another match that I wish we got a little bit more time out of. But we ended up getting an interference from Hobbs, who was ringside, of course, with Ricky Starks, while the referee had his back turned, which then allowed Ricky Starks to hit his finisher for the win. Keith Lee did end up making his way down to kind of break up the celebration that Team Taz had going on. So I'm sure at some point we'll get a tag match with Swerve and Lee versus Hobbs and Ricky Starks, or we may get Swerve versus Hobbs first as a singles match. But either way, I'm stoked for what this ends up being for all these guys who are involved, because I'm a big fan of all these four guys. And I think a tag team would be cool with Swerve and Keith Lee too, especially if the main event scene is a little stacked right now and the TNT title picture is occupied. I think it would be cool to kind of have these guys occupied in the tag division and see how far you can get, and then have them branch out and just kind of build themselves out going in that direction. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. But again, thank you guys so much for always downloading and listening to the pod all the way through. Feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at ASHMANNS, or the show's Twitter page at KickAshPodcast_. I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I will be back with the WrestleMania prediction show after this week's Monday Night Raw. Maybe we'll get Cody on Raw, maybe we'll get a confirmation, maybe we'll still be kind of clueless going into WrestleMania as what Seth will do, but we will talk about that either on Tuesday or Wednesday, guys. Again, thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys have an awesome week, and take care.